forget to subscribe and press the bell icon, my friends. So here we were going to talk about the indices and the slicing, and this is very much of the important. Most of the Python programmer they used to go through this concept, okay, and it's very wonderful concept. Suppose let's say that you have a NumPy array. Let's say 0, 1, 2, okay, 0, 1, 2, all right, and let's say 3, 4 and 5 and 6, 7, 8. So you can check it out as a two-dimensional array, okay. And what happened in multi-dimension array, in two-dimension array, these columns and row are divided in this way. So when you do indexing and when you do the slicing, you will write something like this. That is, the first one is the row. So the rows are basically the 0, the 1 and 2, and the column once again will start with the 0, 1 and 2. And suppose let's say I want to find out this 4. I want to find out this 4. So how I can do? It's pretty simple. The first will represent the row. I want to this the 0, 1. So I will type something like this 1, and I will, okay, here I will use it 1, and the second one is I want to the column is also 1, okay, the column is also 1. So what it will give you, it will give you an output of the 2. So the first one represent the row and second one is represent the column. Now let's say suppose if you want to find out all the columns, all the rows, something like that. So in that case scenario, whenever you find this column, that means we are trying to find out the ranges, means between some row, means this represent all the rows. The column represent, if you are not putting any number between this, that means it represent all the rows. And the same way, if you put the same scenario here, what will happen? It will print you all rows and all columns, okay. And another scenario, let me take it out here. Suppose if you want to print something like if you want to print something like, let's say the column is here. So this will present all the rows, definitely all the rows, okay. But if I write something here 1, so indexing will start with 0, 1, 2. So this means we were talking about this particular column, okay. But in this column, what we want to print, we want to print all the rows. So it will print something like 1, 4 and 7, okay. So this is something. And if you vice versa it, like I want to use 1, okay, and here this. So the first will represent the row. The first will represent the row. So 0, 1, this is the row, and from this row I want to print all the columns. I want to print all the columns. So this will become 3, 4 and 5. So this is the basic that you can start with, okay. Individual element, if we are not using any column, means not in this side and not in this side, and means in case of rows and in case of columns we are not using the column formatter, okay. Suppose if you use column formatter in any one of the rows or any one of the columns, that means we need to find in between values, okay, or starting from the between values. So here in this, that's why it present all the rows and show you all the rows and all the columns. But here if you use, that means I want all the rows of this column, okay. And if you change it, I want this particular row with all the columns. So that's why if you use this one, means this particular row and all the columns, and here it will use all the rows from this column. So all the rows from this column is this one. So the point to be remembered here, that if you focus on this one, that means I want rows and columns, and if a single number column and non all a number will represent in this way. Let's suppose take an example. Suppose I want to do in this case scenario 0, and you can see the number of element is 3, okay. Is 3, 1 2 1 2 3 total number. So if you use this type of thing, the last one will the total number that will not start with the indexes. So here if I put 3, okay, the last will automatically become 3 minus 1. That means the index is up to 2, and I want to print here 1, means 0 to 2. So 0, 1, 2 means all the rows that I want to print, but of which column? The first column. The first column is this one. Once again it will print 1, 4 and 7. Once it will print 1, 4 and 7. The second way of writing the same thing is you can show this one and here, means all the rows of this column. All right, and let's say another way, if we try to do the same thing in the different way, let's say 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, okay, and here I will want all the columns, so 1 will become, this is index 3, means 3 minus 1 will become 2, means 1 and 2. So if we start 0, 1, 0, 1, 3 minus 1 is 2, 2. So I'm trying to print all the rows, means the rows from the something like the first row and the 2, the second row, but I want to print all the columns, means all the columns. So it will once again become 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. And suppose let's change it in this way, 1, 2, 3 and 1. Okay, 1, 2, 3 and 1 means from 3 minus 1 will come 3 minus 1 will become 2. Okay, 3 minus 1 will become 2. So 0, 1 and this rows and this rows, but only first column. First column is what? Is the 4 and 7. So it will print you the 4 and 7. If I change it to 2, so 0, 1, 2, it will in this case scenario print 5 and 8. So this required little bit of practice, okay, to build your concept. I build my concept in this way. I remember in a very simple manner. Okay, I remember in a very simple manner. The first is a row and second is the column. And if you are not giving any column between when you try to means slice it, or when you try to index it, so what happen? You can something like this. Okay, only one element will be printed. All right, first row, the first column. Okay, and if you are using the column one, that means we are trying to slice or index in between something. So let me show you in this particular let me show you a particular example. All right, so here let me show you the same. Okay, like this. So we will create the new one. Okay, and let me use here, let's say a, and a here I will use np dot a range. I will use 9 and we will reshape it to 3 by 3 like this. Okay, and we will try to print it. It look like this. Now let me perform these operations. Let's say I want to use a 1, 1. So when I use a 1, 1, that means 0, 1, and in the column 0, 1 it will print 4 for us like this. Now if I use a different one, let's say I want to print all the rows of first column, so means it will print 1, 4 and 7. You can check it out here. Now if we print once again the array, it will look like this. Now let's do some more operations. Like if I want to print all the rows in all the columns, it will once again print each and everything. Okay, one more way, suppose if I want to print, if I'm doing something like this, 0 to the number of items is in the rows, and 3 rows are available, so 3, and in this 3 I want to print all the columns. Okay, so what will happen? 3 minus 1 will become 2, so 0, 1 and 2. Okay, that means 0, 1 and 2 between this will also show each and everything. And suppose if I change it to in this way, 0, it will start with the 0 to 2. Okay, and here if I print all this one, it will once again give me, sorry, I want to change it to 2 like this. See, it will print me 2 minus 1 is 1, so 0 and 1 and all the column. If I reverse this, means all the row but these columns. So what will happen? All the rows means all the rows, but we will putting a constant over here, 0 and 1, because 2 minus 1 will become 1. So 2 columns means this columns and this column. So it will give you, see, 0, 3, 6 and 1, 4, 7. All right. And this is the way of doing this. If you remember the concept of the rows, and if you remember the concept of the columns, okay, you can be easy, very easy, and very precisely that you can find it out. Okay, so here suppose if I randomly I'm just choosing something like, let's say, colon, and here, and I want to print let's say 1 to 2. So what it will say, what it's trying to say, if you just if I use here, see, a, if I use here a, something like this, so means this is basically our array, so NumPy array. So you can see all the rows means all the rows, but the columns 1 and 2, 0, 1 and 1 minus 1, this is the 1 minus 1 will become 1, means it will print only this from my point of view. So when I run it, you can see it says the 147. If same thing, if I reverse, if the same thing, if I try to reverse it, okay, I will just copy this one and I will just paste it down here, and I will use here 1 to 2 like this one. Okay, now what happened? The rows will be 1 to 2, 2 minus 1 is 1, means only one row, that is this row. Okay, and in this row I want to print all the column, so it will look like this one. See, now if I put a change over here, if I put a little bit of change over here, something like this here, so which column? The first column means 0, 1, and the rows is this one. So if I print it, see, it will only print me the 4, only one item I required here. So this is means what we call the indexing and the slicing, and very important concept, and sometimes you get confused. If you do remember this concept, if you do remember this particular way of writing this, once again I will repeat it, and you can also check it out by seeing this video again. Always remember the concept that says the first one is the row and the second one is the column. If we are putting only number, okay, with no column, that means we are targeting for only one item. And if anywhere the column is presented, that means we are targeting for the more than one number, or it may give one number or more than one number, more than one item. The number is, it may, because it's an integer, it may be a string also, more than one item. Okay, so if I use something like this, okay, I want more than one item, okay, but from that particular column. Okay, and so this is how you can do it. And friends, I once again I request you, to please do subscribe this channel, and if possible like this channel and press the bell icon button, so that you will have more similar types of video. Thanks for watching it.